So my name is Ariana Sanders. I am a local teacher in the area. Excited to be here today to interview the mayor and celebrate Black History Month. So let's get started.
Okay.
First, will you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Certainly. So, as already stated, I am the mayor of Forest Park. I was newly sworn in December 1st, 2021. So I'm about, a month, 2 months into the job, learning a lot as I go. But Cincinnati native, started in the city of Cincinnati, actually in the village of Silverton. And I moved out to Forest Park around 1998. So I've been out here ever since. Moved away briefly when I went to college at Miami University. Got my bachelor's in political science and criminal justice. Had the opportunity to intern on Capitol Hill for the late Alcee Hastings. So there I kind of got bit by the bug even more, learned about the legislative process, how to make policy, how to kind of get the ball rolling, and the nature of government as a whole. Also started to think about community and community planning. So when I came back, pursued my master's in the University of Cincinnati, got my master's in urban planning, and really just wanted to apply all that knowledge and expertise back home. Been here with my mother and my great-grandmother, like I said, since 1998, and they just instilled in me a lot of values about not only taking care of yourself, but taking care of or being of service, rather, and of value to the greater community.
Can you talk about your experience in running a campaign and running for council?
So I had no experience, obviously prior to running my own campaign, but I've volunteered on a number of campaigns. So I am a member of the Hamilton County Democratic Party. When I was in my master's program, I wanted to get people elected who cared about the issues that I cared about, because what I realized was that a lot of urban planners, they have, they make plans, they have all of these good ideas, but they're often not the final person who has that final say on whether something is going to be implemented or not. So I felt that if I could take the planning knowledge and expertise that I was acquiring and assist someone else who was going to get elected, then maybe eventually we could start to improve a lot of the issues, the longstanding issues that we see in all of our communities, not just in Cincinnati, but in Hamilton County as a whole. So I volunteered on several campaigns, and I also served as the political engagement and community outreach chair for the Urban League Young Professionals of Greater Southwest Ohio. And I also served as secretary and then eventually president of the Southwest chapter of Ohio Young Black Democrats, which is a political organization that is designed to recruit, empower, and mentor the next generation of young Black political leadership.
Awesome. How do you feel like, since you just got involved in being mayor, that your job has changed from council to this new role?
Well, I have to do a lot more, actually. Traditionally, council, we pass ordinances, we do resolutions, and then there are the things that I say that are outside of the actual act of governing, where you go to community events and, you do the whole shake hands, kiss babies thing, and you plan community events. But as mayor, I have a lot more of that. A lot of organizations want me to come. They want me to speak. People want me to do interviews like this. But the mayor also has the responsibility legislatively. After we pass an ordinance, they're the ones who make the final sign off on that. And I have responsibility to appoint people to be a part of committees or commissions. It was a lot of what I was doing on council before, just times two, I would say. just a bit more responsibility.
Yeah. So since I'm a high school teacher, I have some kind of student-focused questions.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel when you were leaving high school, preparing to go to college, you knew that you wanted to do a degree like that? And what was your kind of mindset of preparing for this?
Actually, when I graduated from high school, I didn't have any clue that I wanted to study political science. Like, that's kind of, a lot of people say it's kind of abstract. Like, what is it?
Yeah, what does that mean when
what tangible skills do you have? But if we think about the nature of government and how things get done, you often find yourself reflecting on what do you value, right? So when I graduated from high school, I remember having a care for the community, and that there were certain things like homelessness or food insecurity that would motivate me to want to act, but I didn't know where to start. So I thought government is something that should be involved in taking care of those issues. So if I'm going to have government take care of these issues, I have to understand how government works. So that's what, after I graduated high school, I chose political science to study in undergrad, and then also criminal justice. But I would say, in a lot of ways, high school prepares you, but there are some things that kind of fall by the wayside. It's like when you're learning how to ride a bike, your parents kind of hold on to the handlebars until you're ready yourself, and they let go. With college, it was almost like they kind of threw the bike parts at you and said, figure it out, put it together. So when you're there, scheduling courses, deciding on a major, deciding how the skills and relevant courses are going to relate to the skills that I need for a job in the future, to see that and put it all together, that takes a lot of time. And if it wasn't for mentorship, and if it wasn't for the internship opportunities that I had, like such as I interned in Cincinnati City Hall as well, and then in federal government. As a teenager, a lot of times you're not really, you don't feel equipped to make those type of decisions. But the things that you care about, your values, the things that you think are important or should be addressed in society, whether you're a teenager or a kid or even 55 plus, like your ideas matter. They have weight. They have value.
And I've noticed over the past 7 years in the classroom that students don't seem very comfortable talking about politics, and kind of seem like they don't want to be engaged in that. So how can we encourage younger people to be active in their community or voters or those kind of things?
Well, yeah, previous generations, there were a lot more people who would be involved in social clubs or organizations, things like Kiwanis, and nowadays it seems that as technology has improved, we're more connected than ever before, but we're also more siloed, because connection, you can sit on your couch and you can watch videos from someone in India. But I think the more things change, the more they stay the same, if that makes sense. A lot of kids today and teens, they care and they have values as well. They see issues and they know something isn't right and they want to speak up. But like I said, I felt the same way when I graduated. They don't know if what they say is going to be respected by adults. They may not understand exactly how all the pieces need to come together, and they may not understand what stakeholders address certain issues. But I think to engage that generation in particular, you have to remind them that your voice matters, right? A lot of times we say like, well, you're a child, or stay in a child's place. But the truth is they have just as much stake in it as we do, because they are affected by the same issues as us. So not talking down to them, but explaining to them that we need your input as well, because you are also a part of the community. It's not just adults and kids and that's it. It might be adults and then there's an elderly population, but you are a youth population. So you have things that are important to you, things that we may have gone through as teenagers at the same time. And if we can just come to a mutual understanding on, I, as an adult, see you, I value what you value, so please give me your input so we can address the issue together. I think that'll get a lot more people involved. And you do see a wave of young people using social media to speak out on issues that are important to them. Because a lot of times we have, and I feel like, stop me if I'm rambling, but a lot of times as a kid, you do see something, you want to say something, but you don't feel it's your place, or it feels almost intangible. Like, so you might have the passion about it, but you don't have the language just yet to express, like, this is something that is important to me, or this is something I feel, or this is a solution that we can do to address it. But as an adult, I should remember how I felt that same time, being awkward and going through school and, liking girls or what have you, and not studying. But as an adult, going to that person, mentoring them and affirming them in a way, saying that hey, everything that you say, everything that you feel matters, and it matters to me. And we're both affected by this. So help me to help you.
Yeah. And I feel like we have to figure out as the adults how to reach them too. You know, I don't know if Forest Park has a TikTok page or something you could maybe be on, but we have to kind of meet them where they are too.
Yeah. Some people have been asking me to be more active on social media. So I was thinking about making a TikTok, but I don't want to be like, kids looking at me like, oh, you're corny.
Right. You're old. Don't do that.
But no, it's not. We'll see how that plays out.
We can work on that. You are an affordable housing advocate.
Right.
Can you tell me what that means and why that issue is important?
When people talk about affordable housing, it's the issue that comes to mind is really the word affordable. Typically, when people hear affordable, they think, oh, that's going to be Section 8 housing or some type of public subsidy. But affordability, as is defined by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, means that you are not spending more than 30% of your annual income on housing. So once you go over that 30% threshold, they consider you cost burdened. So a house that would be affordable is meaning that whatever your annual income is, you're not spending 30% of that on where you live. For example, in Hamilton County, the county's area median income, or AMI, is around $57,000. So 30% of that means there is around $15,000 to $17,000 roughly. So the problem in Hamilton County is that there are 55,000 families that have an annual income of around $17,000, and that's what they make for the year. So for rent to be affordable to them, you can't spend more than 30% of that, $17,000 a year. So rent for a single person who makes $17,000 a year will have to be around $425. And as we know, that is not realistic to find anywhere in Hamilton County because our average rents are around $980 and only increasing as we're getting in downtown Cincinnati. But as it's also defined in HUD, you have to go by the area in which you live in. If we say, I'm using Hamilton County as an example, but the area median income of Forest Park is different than that of the city of Cincinnati. And then even within the city of Cincinnati, there are different neighborhoods. So you have, places like Mount Lookout or North Avondale, the incomes are going to be higher, Indian Hill, obviously. So affordability is going to differ depending on which portion of the county that you're in. So a lot of people shy away from Section 8 housing, but the reality is we need subsidized housing. There are some people who make a certain income level and they need just a little bit of public subsidy just to, get them ahead. I don't want people to focus too much on, oh, this is not what I want in my neighborhood. In Forest Park in particular, especially, I want people to more so think, what do we value? Do we value families? Do we value children growing up in safe communities? And regardless of your race or ethnicity or your economic background, can you come to a community and live and raise your family and thrive? And that's really what we want out here in Forest Park. The other problem when we're talking about the affordable housing issue is in communities like Forest Park, people typically think of it as a single family detached style home. And that's not the case either. Because although a lot of homes look single family, but in Forest Park, a lot of them might be duplexes or even triplexes. It might be 3 units and it just looks like a single family home. So I just want people to focus less on the word affordable and whatever negative connotations that may come up, and instead think about what we value, how we want families to be able to take care of their themselves and their children and raise their families. And housing is just one of the most critical pieces to that life, liberty, and that pursuit of happiness that really is the foundation of the American dream. Housing touches every aspect of society, and affordability is going to vary depending on where you are. But I want the community to be welcoming of whomever lives in the area, regardless of their income status.
Since it's Black History Month, can you tell us a little bit about what that means to you and maybe if there are things that go around the city to celebrate?
Yeah, so the city actually just did a proclamation. So we we acknowledge that this is Black History Month. All of council are, Black. So it's really important. It's really important to each of us. For me in particular, and I don't want to get too academic with this, but originally Dr. Carter G. Woodson, when he came up with the idea for Negro History Week, which eventually became, Black History Month as we know it, he has a really good quote that he says, if a race has no history, then it has no worthwhile tradition. And at that point, it becomes a negligible factor in the thought of the world. And it's in danger of being exterminated. So in that point he's making, it's even though as a sociological construction of race, he understands that we as Black people, we were forcefully brought to America, right? We have a different perspective than everyone else who is here. And while everyone else comes from a multitude of European nations and what have you, they're connected to that history, and they can pass that on to future generations. They understand where they came from, so they can know where they're going. As children of the diaspora, since we were cut off essentially from, the various nations that existed in Africa to come to this point, we now have to forge this new identity, right? That is African without the history, but then American without the pride. So we have to come together as Black people, and we have to forge this new identity and then explain that history. Like, who are we in this moment, in this context? And then we pass that on to generations. And from there, you get to understand that you aren't just from slavery. You are a perseverer. You are an inheritor of this glorious destiny, like that only we understand, and that we have overcome through years of, struggle, a beautiful struggle, to this moment today. And I think that's incredibly important to reflect on every year, not even just for us, because a lot of people say, oh, Black History Month is really for everyone else, but it still is for us too, because a lot of times when people talk about the issues that our community face, people talk about voting rights. People say like, oh, well, you should vote because your ancestors died for this. But if we really study history, our ancestors did die for the right to vote 100%, but they lived for this also. They lived for the right to vote for generations to move on forward and forward to this point where even a city like Forest Park started in 1956, incorporated in 1961, to come to this point, didn't even allow African Americans to live here until 1973. So you have this history from 56 to 73. No Black people are a part of this. And now you have a city today, 2022, 55% African American. And the fourth Black mayor, the youngest mayor. That's an important history to tell. That's an important history to share. And I just want people to constantly reflect on that. And I think sharing not only important moments in Black history and in American history, because we are, American, but sharing important moments in Black history where each of us come from as well is it really goes back to what Dr. Woodson says, and that's how we have that worthwhile tradition that we can continue.
You mentioned Woodson. Is there anybody else in Black history, maybe politician, activist who has a big impact on you?
You mean like outside of family?
Mm-hmm.
Because really, because my great-grandmother, she made history. She was actually one of the first African Americans to graduate from UC's College of Nursing. So many years, I don't even know how many years ago. But outside of my family, golly, I'm just constantly inspired by Audre Lorde, Zora Neale Hurston, obviously Malcolm X, of course Dr. King. King is he just resonates with me so much. It's ridiculous at this point, but I consider myself a student of history, and I try to go back and I study what a lot of these people had to overcome for us to even get to this point. So yeah, I don't want to keep going, but I could. It's just a ton of people that I'm always inspired by their words and their actions and just the level of discipline and courage and perseverance that they had to display, not even just once. Freedom is a constant struggle, and they had to do it every day. Nowadays we get, we boycott for 2 weeks and then we done. But, Montgomery, the bus boycott was over a year. It was 300 plus, it was like 377 days or something like that. But 80-year-old women walking to work, to go, to affluent white neighborhoods to still scrub the floors. My great-great-grandmother was one of them. She actually did that here. She, would go, she would go from Silverton out to Wyoming, and she would work in those houses, those really nice houses that you always see when you're coming up Springfield Pike. But yeah.
And I love that you said that, because I think that's so important that later on in life you usually become a better history student, right? Like when you're in high school at the time, you don't think of it, and then you love to read about these people later on and connect more to the culture later.
Yeah, that's true.
But me teaching that class, I'm like, this is so awesome. You all don't get it. And then, later on you come to that point. So I appreciate that answer.
You return to it. But it's by the work of educators like yourself that you instill that passion. Because, foundationally, as a kid, we I don't care about this. But if they can see the passion in your eyes, you're connecting with them on some level. Because I had a history teacher, I had an English teacher, Black women, that really was outside of my home, because I'm being raised by Black women, of course, but these teachers that are saying this is important, and you may not get it now, but you will one day. And I'm just like, oh, stop. They really get that, that passion in you, and they bring that potential out of you. So then you find yourself going back to study history. I consider myself a lifelong student. I'm always trying to learn, to just continue forever, to continue that beautiful struggle. But, when I go back and I find myself reading books, I think about those moments they told me this back then and I ain't get it, but I get it now. You know?
It took every shortcut then, and now here I am actually reading it.
Right.
I agree. So we have something very important happening this weekend.
Yeah.
So tell us your Super Bowl predictions.
Oh, of course. All right. So the Bengals have always, since I've been born, they've had winning seasons, but they have never won a playoff game. But the second that we won that first playoff game in, 30 plus years, I was ecstatic like everyone else. But it feels different, right? Right now, it feels different in this moment, because then we won the next game. We're AFC champs, and it's we're going all the way. Nothing can stop that. I feel like it is our time. It is us, quarterback Joe Burrow says. So yeah, I would say Bengals, but of course, since I got to stay on brand, the team near and dear to my heart is Wentwood's Warriors. We are already the Division II state champions, so I got to let people know that. Cincinnati is having a moment, but it's not just Cincinnati. It's there are Bengal fans out here in Forest Park, and the Bengals need to recognize that. We want a game ball too. I don't know which camera I need to look at. We want to hold the game ball too. There are a lot of fans out here in Forest Park that would love to hold the game ball, Cincinnati Bengals. So once you win the Super Bowl, we need to be first on the list.
I agree. And I should say that all the schools should be closed when we have our Super Bowl parade.
Right. I'm the mayor. I don't have anything to do with the school district. You got to take that up with the school board. But
before we head out for this evening, would you like to share how people can connect with you and the city?
Absolutely. So you can always call the city. I have a voicemail that you can use. Just leave me a message, or you can contact the city and it'll get to me. I have my email. I don't know if Dana can put that on the screen, but you can also follow me on social media. So on Twitter, it's just my name, Aaron Brown. And my name should be at the bottom of the screen. And then also on Instagram, I am Mayor Brown, FP for Forest Park on Instagram, and we might make a TikTok that you'll be able to find me on. So I just encourage people to reach out, because I try to stay as accessible as possible.
Thank you so very much for your time. I've enjoyed talking history and talking Black History Month with you, and I hope that everybody listening can find a way to get more involved in their community and do some Black History Month research.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.